I'm Tyler Jones, and coming up on this edition of the Racing Roundtable, I'm going to tell you why Corey Heim deserves to be in the 35 car right now. Not later, but right now after winning a Naval Base Coronado.
I'm Dominic Aragon in a world of take. Why what we saw with Tyler Reddick and Corey Heim with the give and take is more needed in NASCAR.
I'm at Kemp, and I'm going to tell you why Christopher Bell is going to have one heck of a comeback.
Welcome in to the Racing Roundtable. Tyler Jones, Matt Kemp, Dominic Aragon here with you as we look back at the historic weekend at Naval Base Coronado. It was Corey Heim in his 13th career start getting the victory in San this past Sunday. We will break that all down for you. We will also look ahead to this weekend's action at Sonoma. And we'll get to our top headlines in the sport. Plenty to discuss when it comes to AJ Allmendinger, Jesse Love, and we'll get you our predictions for this upcoming race at Sonoma as well. Guys, let's start with Corey Heim getting the job done with his first career win. And this is a superstar in the making that we're seeing here, folks. We have known for quite some time that Corey Heim was a special talent with what he did in the NASCAR Truck Series, winning 12 races last year, the Truck Series title. This year gets the part-time gig in the 67. He's running some truck races, some O'Reilly races, and he ran a fantastic race. A great showing for 23XI racing as a whole as he was battling with Tyler Reddick. Bubba Wallace comes home with a career best second place finish on a road course. Riley Herbst was running really well. He finishes in the top five. Just a really good day for that organization. Matt, I'll start with you. There's not a lot of negative things to say about what Corey Heim did. He ran a really strong race to get this victory there with the fourth team at 23XI. We've talked about the speed that they've shown as an organization all year, and even the R&D team with Booty Barker leading the charge puts together a fantastic car that he took up to the front to get this win. I was very impressed. What was your thoughts on what Corey Heim did there?
Uh, you know, Honestly, I wouldn't have picked him before the day, but I can't say I'm surprised. I mean, this dude won 12 out of 24 races in the Truck Series on en route to the championship last year. I think most people knew that he was Cup ready well before this year even started. And if it was, based on talent rather than, the financials being such a large portion of it. And if it was in the plan, right, like he should have been in Cup this year. Somebody would have picked him up if there wasn't a plan already in place for him to go probably next year. So yeah, super, super cool, proving that he already belongs. So getting that monkey off his back before he ever even starts his full-time career. So that's pretty cool for him, but I can't say I'm surprised, honestly, guys.
Yeah, it was awesome to see what Corey Heim did to get that victory. And Dominic, um, the way that he ran, I know some people are going to point to the incident with Carson Osavar, but for the most part, you had to really like the way that he was running up there, that it wasn't a lucky situation. He showed off his talent and his capabilities uh, to make the passes, the moves that he did. Like everything was on full display for Corey Heim there.
Yeah, and the speed was there. I think Denny Hamlin had said on his Actions Detrimental podcast too that Heim just he was spending some time around him early on in the race. You could tell Heim was pretty fast if I remember that correctly, and the way that he raced Tyler Reddick with a class act, and like I alluded to at the beginning of the show, they get together in one of the corners, and Tyler Reddick kind of just gave the spot back to him and said, I want to go around your right. And it's not the first time we've seen that in racing. We've seen like a gentleman's rule, if you will. There's no NASCAR rule that says you have to give a spot back if you spin somebody or you have to stop on the track. Nothing like that. But they were already, what, 9, 10 seconds away from third place, Bubba Wallace. And it was in the closing laps. And I think that shows the kind of character that Tyler Reddick is, that he wanted to get around him in a class act kind of move. And you don't really see that a lot. We're in a situation where you see a lot of take among competitors in the NASCAR Cup Series, and you hear drivers talk about that, Riley in the Truck Series. So it was a nice, refreshing change, Tyler, to be able to see Corey Heim and Tyler Reddick race it cleanly, hard, but cleanly and very respectful. And then, of course, Reddick having the issue with the tire at the end, unprecedented. I don't believe that had anything to do with their on-track contact. But nonetheless, Corey Heim, a well-deserved victory, won it on speed. And I believe, wasn't he like 60 or 70 to 1 in the odds last week when we were discussing? So definitely a long shot driver, at least from the odds maker's perspective. But it seems like he has the respect of his competitors, too, even before Sunday.
Matt, you mentioned the talent level, that how obvious it was for Corey Heim. He wins in his 13th career start, which, by the way, Matt's favorite driver of all time, Jimmy Johnson, also won his first career race in his 13th career start. But I think what people will jump to, Matt, when a guy wins on a road course, the question for people that may not know is, okay, is he just a road course specialist? Is he just really good at these road courses? And I would tell you that doesn't tell the full story at all with Corey Heim here, that he is, when he's been given opportunities, he's run very well on a variety of different tracks. This is somebody that was not a fluke win at all. This was not just because he was on a road course that he had a strong day or something here. This is a star in the making. When we talk about the young up and coming guys, Corey Heim, the Carson Hosevars, the Connor Ziliches, the Ty Gibbs of the world, he might end up being the best one of all of them, Matt.
I'll tell you what, if you're a cup driver, I mean, I'd figure on winning this year, because I think next year when Corey Heim comes up there, um, he's going to be a threat. I mean, he's going to be tough to beat if 2311 and Toyota is as strong as, anywhere near as strong as they are right now. And obviously, he's proven in his previous Cup starts already that he can contend and run in the top 10. So, um, he's more than proven that he's capable on every single type of track. And there's absolutely no, I mean, it's yet to be seen what his weakness may or may not be, but he's I'm personally very high on Corey Heim at the moment. I think he's going to be tough next year, no matter where you go. So, yeah, I don't think it's a road course thing either, Tyler. I think it's an everywhere thing, and it's a Corey Heim thing.
Dom, I will say this. I feel for Corey because I feel like this year is kind of wasted. He's only making 12 Cup starts. He's not full time in the O'Reilly Series or the Truck Series, competing for a championship in either one of those. It, we should have been sitting here talking about Corey Heim breaking through, getting his first win, and contending for a spot in the chase. Instead, we're like, well, it's a one-off win. Can't wait to see what next year holds when he gets to run for Rookie of the Year and all of that. Like, to me, what are we doing here with a guy that talented to see it wasted? Even if he was in the O'Reilly Series this year, competing for a championship, that would be more fun than just this schedule that's all over the place of him doing stuff this year. Like, I cheated as a fan that we don't get to see him go out there and compete every single week, compete for wins, compete for a championship somewhere. Like I said at the top of the show, what's 2311 Racing waiting for? Put him in the 35 now. Find somewhere for Riley Herbst to go, because he's clearly the more talented racer. Riley's not going anywhere. He's sure, he had a strong run this past weekend, but he's not a threat to make the chase or anything like that. Like, to me, I feel like we're being cheated of sorts, and that Corey Heim is being cheated for what should have been a fantastic year for him. It's cool that he won a race, but there should have been more to that this year, I think.
From a fan perspective, sure, but we're only getting the top surface level. And there's so many layers of that. I mean, that you got to peel back. So many things that we have no idea what's going on, but we know money's probably a big part of that. Nonetheless, Corey Heim is going to be around a long time. And again, I relate back to that Actions Detrimental show. I don't know if you guys had the chance to listen to that, but they did it from their hotel room, Denny and Travis. And I guess Blaney came up to Denny after the race, said, "Oh, that Corey Heim guy is going to be a problem. He's going to be a problem moving forward," kind of piggybacking off of what Matt had said a few minutes ago. So we don't get to see a full-time Corey Heim this year, but again, this schedule has worked out for other drivers in the past where you can only declare points for one series, but you can run whatever. Ryan Blaney's a great example of that in 2015, where we didn't see him full time anywhere. Won or went out and had a great rookie of the year campaign in 16, won a race in 17, and became a champion a few years beyond that. So maybe it's the making of that. And I would point to Tyler, the moment that he won, they say that sometimes how do you overcome adversity? Some moments where maybe things didn't go your way and that made you the athlete that you are. And at least in the Cup Series, I think back to last year at the Chicago Street Course where we didn't get to see Corey Heim make the race. They had a really bad qualifying run. I think he smacked the wall and they DNQ'd. They were not supposed to DNQ that race, and they did. And it's always the losses you hear that really shape a driver's journey. And I'd be curious if we hear at some point in time that maybe that Chicago Street Course kind of just carried with him and made him the driver he is. And he even said he might be having an advantage right now because he has time. He has weeks at a time to prepare between Cup starts, so he's feeling much more prepared. He can brief with the team a little bit more. He can do more with the meetings and pre-plan, do more sim time. So Corey Heim's kind of got this weird, unique advantage where, yeah, these races are cherry picked, but we're going to get the best of the best with them.
Now, one thing that's come up with Corey Heim getting this win in his 13th start is the old 100 start rule that is kind of the gauge of if you are going to be a very good race car driver or not, is can you win within your 100th career start? We saw, just to kind of get perspective on this, Kyle Larson, he won in his 99th career start. A guy like Kyle Busch had 4 wins within his first 100 starts. Dale Jr. won 6 races in his first 100 starts. Tony Stewart, he reached 10 career wins in his 79th start. The list goes on and on of how this works. We've seen, Harvick won in his third, Jamie McMurray won in his second, SVG, of course, won in his first, on and on and on. With that said, the 100 start rule, Matt, I look at it twofold. I think the 100 start rule is a good gauge for who's going to be a contending driver. But if you're winning early in your career, like this early, like Corey Heim is, I think that's a good gauge of who's going to be championship caliber race car drivers. I think that what we saw out of Corey Heim, it's ahead of schedule, certainly so. But history tells us, I think that's a great sign for where he's going from here. What do you think as far as like what history says with that 100 start rule, Matt?
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot from Corey Heim to be able to feel pretty confident that he's going to be a contender moving forward in all of his, top 3 series starts now. Um, even going back to the ARCA days when he ran. So to be honest with you, I foresee. I don't know that it necessarily past results don't necessarily promise future results, I guess. I don't think that's necessarily true in all cases, but yeah, in this case, I think it's pretty clear that he's doing it to the highest of his ability. I mean, he tracked down the championship leader in the Cup Series
In the
in
same equipment.
in the same equipment. In reality, like you said, probably the R&D car, you know what I mean? Not necessarily even um, I mean, who knows? It's the next gen, so probably the same. But either way, still an incredible drive, no matter what. And I mean, there's no question. Like he did it the right way, and he was getting ready to drive around him and pass him, and they were going to have a great race. Obviously, I think if Tyler didn't make that little bit of a mistake and slide up in that corner, there was a little bit of shade off into the corner. I think that might have had a, a piece of the reason why he might have overdrove it a little bit, but I digress on that. I think ultimately the 100 start rule, it does seem like it's kind of there's some truth to it nowadays of kind of what makes guys good, but you do have those guys that you just know they have it, and no matter what they do and what kind of car they're in, they're going to be tough to beat. So I think Corey Heim is that guy at this point in time.
And correction on my part, Chase Elliott was his 99th start. Kyle Larson was his 93rd start when it comes to that rule. Dom, as the historian among us, the 100 start rule, how much validity do you put that? And how big of a deal is it in your eyes that Heim did this in start 13?
And one more comment, Tyler,
Go
on
ahead.
that. on Kyle Larson getting his in his 93rd start and Chase Elliott in his 99th, or, basically they were in different equipment. So there's a ton of different factors of like what teams were good at the time when they first come in. Like William Byron, he joined Hendrick in 2018. I mean, they were the worst I think they've ever been at that point in time. So the fact that it took him a little bit to win is not a surprise because of where the team was. And for Connor Zilic, for example, for this year, it's going to take him longer because Trackhouse is nowhere to be found other than on road courses. So, um, you know, that's all I got to say about that. Dom, you go ahead. Sorry.
I know it's a great point to bring up about the factors. There's so many things that would contribute to that. How good of equipment are you in? Because Ross Chastain had made well over 100 starts before he found victory lane, and Trackhouse was on the cutting edge of that next gen car in 22 and 23. So Tyler, I think maybe running top five is more a measuring stick that you could look at, because I think of guys like Chase Elliott, Ty Gibbs, that were running in the top five a ton before they won a race. They had race winning speed, but just couldn't really translate that into a win. And then to answer the second part of that with Corey Hyman start 13, I think it's put the Cup Series garage even more on notice, and it's put the fan base more on notice. And I think that comes with a rising tide of higher expectations, because if you win that early, there's going to be the expectation that you can do it often. Look at Jamie McMurray. He won in his second start. He finished his career with 7 wins across a career that took almost 20 seasons. So
Yeah.
early success may not be indicative of how well you're going to run across your career, but it does make for great conversation. And I think it does put the world more on notice. And I think it does come with more pressure, whether you want that or not, that you're going to be putting yourself as a driver, but also comes with more confidence too, that I can do this.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Let's talk about the points situation. So I will I'll humble myself and let people inside the group chat for a moment between the three of us. With about 5 laps to go, I had sent these two a text message, and I said something to the effect of, as Tyler Reddick was leading, I'm like, well, good timing for Tyler Reddick to extend that points lead. With the lead, of course, down to, what was it, 19 entering Sunday. And then, of course, he loses the lead to Corey Heim and ended up having a tire issue. And a race that Tyler Reddick, everybody thought was going to gain points on Denny Hamlin, because Denny's the first to tell you he's not that great on road courses. The lead is down to 8 points. And we go to Sonoma this week. You would think, again, same scenario, right? Tyler Reddick should, in theory, extend that points lead. But maybe Denny's got something cooking. At the very least, Dom, I'll put it this way. If Denny has an average day here, if he avoids trouble, if he, let's say, top 15 day, and even if Tyler Reddick gains some points on it, I think if you're Denny Hamlin, if you get out this week with just a solid day, not a great day, but a solid day, then you got to be feeling really good about your point position to try to get this regular season title here once you get past this week.
Because of what you have Atlanta, and then after Atlanta and that wild card, you're going to have tracks like Indianapolis, Iowa, some great staples for Denny Hamlin. And man, how about that? I don't think we were going to be talking about Denny Hamlin closing in on the points lead at the naval-based Coronado race. It just wasn't something I think on a lot of people's cards. But here we are within single digits. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler. I think this is the smallest point lead, though, that Tyler Reddick has had the entire season, even after the Daytona 500. I believe his point lead was, 10, 12 points. So this is something that is uncharted territory for the 45 team. You got to be feeling pretty good if you're Denny Hamlin. Now, Hamlin's never won at Sonoma. His best finish is second in this race 10 years ago. But Denny Hamlin knows how to get around the road course at Sonoma. Heck, he won the pole here 2 years ago. I think he won back-to-back poles, maybe 23 and 24. So he knows how to get it done. It's just a matter of finishing off the races. We might be talking about Denny Hamlin, the points leader, leaving Sonoma if things don't fall the 45's way. There's momentum on the 11 side right now.
Now, with that said, what's interesting, Matt, is you look at that 45, Tyler Reddick very well could have won this race. He was running very good until the end, right? And he ends up finishing 25th. You go back to Pocono, where Denny won last week. Where did Tyler Reddick finish? He finished second. Had the bad run at Michigan where he finished 35th. And then in Nashville, Tyler Reddick finished 6th. Like, Reddick, the bad finishes have been some bad luck, right? When they haven't had the bad luck, maybe they haven't been to victory lane in what is it, 6 weeks, but they're still showing a ton of speed. They're still showing the ability to win races. They've just made a couple of mistakes, and Denny has just run fantastic here. Like, I would still argue, Matt, that even though Denny looks like the championship favorite and looks like he is going to take this regular season points lead in the next couple of weeks, the 45 still isn't going anywhere. They still very well, I think, wouldn't shock any of us if they find a way to get back on track and rattle off some wins and still make this thing interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean they're coming up on some great tracks for them. Obviously, Denny is as well, but Sonoma's a no-brainer. Like he should pull away and could pull away a lot of points and end up with a pretty sizable gap again after Sonoma. That is a very realistic and plausible scenario. But the fact that it is down to 8 points is, to Dominic's point, pretty wild considering that that's probably the smallest points lead that he's had all year. So um, no question that no matter what the points look like, that 45 team is here to stay this year. They've been uh, the fastest, if not one of the fastest, if all year long. So no question, all season long, you're gonna have to watch out for the 45 team. And I think Denny Hamlin, my opinion, still is the favorite for the overall championship, regular season championship. It's either teams though. We'll find out over the next few weeks. It might come down to a little bit of luck and who has the best luck with mechanical failures or makes mistakes at the road courses. Who knows? But I guess we'll see.
Couple more things out of Coronado and the points situation. SVG gets involved in that nasty crash with Austin Hill and ends up 38th with a DNF. I don't think any of us were going to be surprised if SVG didn't, but I don't think anybody had a 38th place DNF on our radar for Shane Van Gisbergen with the way things ultimately played out. And now SVG finds himself outside of the chase picture in 17th, 5 points behind Ryan Preece. We have seen SVG run a lot better on these ovals as of late. Last road course race of the year coming up at Sonoma this weekend. Dom, SVG is in a must-win scenario, I think. If you're SVG, you need to get this win and get yourself some points to give you some cushion heading into this final stretch before the chase.
Yeah, you're gonna have a wild card with Atlanta after this, and then the mile and a halves have been hit and miss for the 97. If they start up front, they're in great shape, Tyler. But that's not a guarantee that qualifying is going to get rained out like we saw at Nashville or in Charlotte. So here's a great opportunity for the 97 team to come in, try and do what they've done best over the last couple of years, and that's go and flat out dominate these road course events because you have Sonoma, and then well, this is the last road course race of the year, right, Tyler? So
Yep.
they have to capitalize on this opportunity to go out and be able to pick up a victory.
Matt, what did you think of the Kevin Magnussen, Noah Gragson situation and the words that were exchanged afterwards? Neither one of them had that good of a day. Gragson finishing 35th with the DNF, Magnussen in 27th. Magnussen, he's not that great of a driver. Let's call a spade, right? Like he had a terrible career in F1, but he had quite the wake up call to how things operate in NASCAR, and that continued post race too.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go as far as to say he's a terrible driver, but I love the hot take. I think
Enter the fast lap too, I might add.
right, exactly my point. He went out there and did set the fastest lap, to be fair, but that was well after SVG and Zilish were long gone out of the race. So my first thoughts with this Noah Gregson and K-Mag deal, I think honestly he's pulling a Kevin Harvick. I think Noah Gregson is. I think he's pulling picking a fight to stay relevant because it's been obviously a pretty rough go of it for them lately. What better way to stay relevant than to pick a fight with a former F1 driver?
Right. Christopher Bell left the race pretty early. We talked last week. This was going to be hard for him, this race of dealing with the injury. And at Pocono, he was driving with one arm. And we saw Brent Cruz come in. They ultimately finished 39th and all that. Now you go to Sonoma. Dom, I hate it for CB that these tracks coming off the injury could not have been worse tracks timing wise for CB to have to deal with, because he's going to have a similar circumstance at Sonoma here too.
Time of the taping of this, I haven't seen anything, guys. It shows that he's not going to run the full race, but Brent Cruz waiting in the wings to run again. I'm sure that's going to be the case. Get him out of there on the first caution. We know the road courses are just a different type of physical demand for the drivers, and you hear the drivers talk about that too. And clearly, Christopher Bell lasted 12 laps in the race before Bell was relieved by Cruz. So it's a horrible situation to be going through the summer stretch when they had a lot of momentum on their side and they're 12th in points and falling like a rock, I might add too, Tyler, in the point situation. So not good. I know it's not ideal to have somebody else drive your vehicle, but if it's in the name of health and it's in the name of thinking of the bigger picture, we might be seeing Brent Cruz in that car again this weekend.
Yeah, and even if CB does run, he's not at full strength in all this. It doesn't mean he's going to run well either. And so that's not a great situation at all for CB to have to deal with. One more note on Coronado this past weekend, Matt. The incident there at the end of the race with Carson Hocevar and Corey Heim. Carson was not happy at all about that. These two have history dating back to their Truck Series days, and there have been some rumblings. Was it intentional with their prior history and such, going back to 2023? I don't know if it's that deep, Matt, but I think that this could be a very interesting rivalry at the very least between these two for a while.
They say to save it up, you know, use it when you need to, and I think he used it up right there. I mean, to be fair, Hocevar wrecked him for a championship a few years back, so I think just about anything was fair game moving forward. So yes, I think he absolutely drove in there and said, "I'm not wasting time with him. See you later." And hey, it was a good time to use it. Obviously, he went down, chased down Tyler Reddick, and got him his first Cup win. But one more quick note on C. Bell, my hot take here: be ready, because these next few weeks, as he heals up, I think it's going to light fire under him. That 20 team, they're going to look like the 45 in the 11.
They got speed. They do. They just need to get their driver healthy, and I think they're going to be in good shape. I agree. I was at Coronado this weekend. I loved it. Dom, like my closing thoughts, kind of put a wrap on Coronado here. Major success when it came to attendance all weekend. That was one of the best truck crowds we have seen in recent memory. The O'Reilly race was a sellout. The Cup race was a sellout. The patriotism that was on display, just beautiful. The coordination with the Navy, celebrating 250 years of the Navy and America 250 and all of that. The racing was very good. There's some logistical things to work out in the future when it comes to like concession stands and bathrooms and getting to the track. The bridge was a bit of a problem and all of that, but I think those things can be worked out. You look at what NASCAR's done with this mobile track program that Ben Kennedy has been overseeing, where they went to the LA Coliseum, Bowman Gray Stadium, the Chicago Street Course. I thought this was the best one they've put together of this mobile race program. And it sounds like it's coming back next year. Rumblings are about July 4th weekend. NASCAR trying to find a new tradition for July 4th. They haven't really found it since Daytona was moved to the end of the regular season. I like what we have going with Coronado. I think, Dominic, that this race, 4th of July weekend, makes a ton of sense moving forward. I would expect it to stay on the schedule for a long time. And I give NASCAR a ton of credit for this mobile race strategy program they got going on. And, you think about it with Chicago, there were so many issues with it being, a street race and interrupting things. The Navy, they opened their arms and they made this as accessible as possible, as fan-friendly as they could. I think this is a win. I think NASCAR found something with Coronado and maybe some other military bases down the road. I think that, there's been some kinks they've had to work out with this mobile strategy, but this was the best one we've seen so far, I think, Dom.
Sure, and you're not going to nail something 100% the first time you do it. I know Ben Kennedy had addressed that in a media availability this weekend with you guys at the track, but really cool to see. And I feel like the energy, Tyler, from what everyone was saying, that the broadcast as well too. That of course the Daytona 500 is the biggest race, but the energy that was there on display at Coronado Naval Base was something that you would see like a high priority and like a kind of like a crown jewel race. So I hope it's not a one-time deal. I hope we're going back. And I know that the president had made some comments to Fox 5 in San Diego, like Amy Lupo, if I'm saying her name
Yep.
correct, that next year that they would like to add some viewing barges on the water, maybe some more ferry trips to and from the track, and then even potentially a shorter circuit. So that could in turn maybe do more laps like we've seen with Coda and what they did with adjusting that a couple of years back. So hoping that they do go back next year, Tyler, and that this is not a one-year thing.
We're headed to Sonoma this upcoming week. Matt, the most traditional of the road courses, you could argue. We've been going there for a long time, and it's changed names about 100 different times, but it's Sonoma now. We've seen some really good racing there over the years. What are you expecting from Sonoma after this race here at Coronado?
Well, I'm really glad that they switched back to the cup layout that they run now at Sonoma. Always thought this was a much better layout than the extended layout. I will always root for a shorter course rather than a longer course. So if they do decide to shorten up Qualcomm circuit next year, I believe we'll be in better shape. Actually, I like the shorter road courses better anyway, and I think. Even with the longer course this year, it was a great race. We saw cars side by side for multiple laps this year. So back to Sonoma, though, I think we're in for a treat. It's a great racetrack and a beautiful part of the country. I still think we need to go here when the grass is green. I think there's a really great opportunity to go out there and enjoy wine country when the grass is alive. So I think that would be a lot of fun. But this upcoming weekend, always excited to see racing at Sonoma. Sonoma and Watkins Glen, obviously the kind of the OG tracks. I feel like for most of our generation watching the Cup Series, so always excited to go back to wine country.
Dom, what are you excited about with Sonoma this weekend?
Yeah, it's cool to see back-to-back road courses on the schedule. And I don't know about you guys, but I was kind of getting used to seeing maybe the excess of road courses that we had gotten used to over the last few years. Because for the longest time, it was, can we get more than 2 road course races? Can we get a road course in the Chase? And we got that. And it seemed like there was a good balance there, maybe with 5 or 6 road course races. And I think there's 4 now on the schedule. Maybe that is the happy balance ultimately. But kind of bummed that it's our last road course event of the entire year, but nonetheless, it's cool to have back-to-back weeks and then back-to-back in the same state. Now, granted, on opposite ends, Northern versus Southern California, but Sonoma is a great place if you guys ever get the chance to go. Had the privilege of covering 2 race weekends out there. It is an awesome facility.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see how it all plays out there this weekend. Guys, let's get to our headlines in the sport. Plenty of news to cover. Dom, where do you want to start?
Do we go odds? Do we go Allmendinger? No, let's start with Jesse Love. Since the last time we joined you guys here on the Racing Roundtable, Jesse Love was named the driver of the number 21 Ford Mustang for Wood Brothers Racing in the NASCAR Cup Series starting in 2027. So another silly season piece has fallen. Love will be driving the 21 car, so I believe, Tyler, that will make him and Heim as confirmed pending NASCAR approval, right? Because it's a case-by-case basis that those 2 drivers will be among the 2027 NASCAR Cup Series Rookie of the Year class.
Jesse Love in the 21. And Dom, let me go back to you on this. Something that you and I have talked about both on this show and off air. When you look at that 21, it's been treated as like the R&D car of Penske is that. And we've seen a number of drivers since Ryan Blaney left. Matt DiBenedetto was there for a bit. Then Harrison Burton and Josh Berry. And as they've trickled out these drivers, all of them have had, some good runs here and there, but they've struggled to find consistency. And that, you could change out the driver, but it still has been the same issue every time. And I'm very curious, Dom, like Jesse Love, what's the investment here? Is it, I think this will kind of tell us about how this is going to go. If Penske sees, Dom, Jesse Love is a part of their future. And if the goal is to get him in a Penske car down the line, whether it's replacing Cindric or Joey or something like that, then I think that this could go very well. They could invest and they could compete. If this is just to fill a seat, just to try something different, I think that the results are going to be the same as what they've been the last few drivers.
And I feel like it's the first part of what you said there. Penske clearly sees something here with Jesse Love, and I don't know if Austin Cindric is the long-term play in that two car. Joey Logano probably has more races behind him than ahead of him. Blaney's still very early in his career himself, but Penske's got to be thinking of the future, the Penske group. And if they're helping and having their hand and having their say in who's developed in that 21 car, much like when Roush had their hand on that 21 car and Bain got the nod versus Bill Elliott in 2011, it's probably the same deal here when you say it like that. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective, but it makes a lot of sense that you'd want somebody who's going to eventually going to be in a Penske type car. It wouldn't surprise me if we see, if we see Love have better finishes than what we've seen in the past, kind of like what we saw with Blaney in 2016 and 2017.
Matt, I'll say this about Jesse Love. If you're a Jesse Love fan, if you're looking for some optimism here about him going to that 21 car, think about this. RCR's had a lot of issues as an organization, right? One of the few bright spots the last couple of seasons has been how well he ran and is running the O'Reilly series. Now, Austin Hill, of course, he's been kind of a plate track merchant of sorts and winning those races. But Jesse Love, maybe he wasn't winning at the rate like Connor Zilic was last year, but with everything going on, he was still competing week in and week out, still is, and showing that consistent speed. I think if you're the Wood brothers, if you're Penske, you're hoping that translates, that you see, hey, this was a guy that was getting a lot out of a not great situation there at RCR.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it as simple as this. If you're Jesse Love and you're presented with two options for Cup rides next year, and one of them is RCR, the other one is Penske, essentially. I mean, realistically, what are you guys choosing? I mean, I know the direction that I'm gonna go, and where if I'm looking out at the long-term career choice, I'm thinking Penske's a no-brainer. So can't blame Jesse Love at all for going that direction, regardless of what it pays or whatever, I think regardless of the situation of the car, I mean, it's a Penske car, guys. Like, there's no way, I don't care how it's run in the past. I mean, it is a Penske prepared car and will continue to be. So I think that's a great opportunity for Jesse. And it's hard for me to say whether he should have done anything different because I don't know what other options he had, but it seemed like a no-brainer to me.
So you feel optimistic that he can elevate that team?
I think that no matter what, it's a great opportunity, and regardless of how it goes, I think it's a great gamble, and I think a good direction to go because he's obviously got a great connection to everybody over at RCR, and so if you're considering the politics of it, I guess if things don't go well there, I think he's not going to burn a bridge, and I bet you he still has a seat over at RCR someday if it comes to be where he ends up needing to be. But I think things are going to go all right, and yes, I do think he'll elevate that team.
Okay, so you're feeling good about him. I just hope, that he gets a fair chance, that they're going to really invest and give him a shot, and not just treat it as an R&D car. If they give him a fair shot, I think there could be some good results for Jesse Love there in the 21 car. Dom, one driver that's not going anywhere is AJ Allmendinger.
Part of our next story here with that too, and of course, like a twofold thing. He announced it this weekend at the Coronado Naval Base that he's going to be a colleague next year, and I want to say it was alluded to even in the 2030s, whether he's behind the wheel or not. He will be a colleague for a long, long time. But Tyler, just some fascinating numbers on that. When you look at the 78-year history of the NASCAR Cup Series, 2,999 drivers have made at least 1 points awarding race in the history of the series. AJ Allmendinger is going to become the 48th driver to be able to say that they have 500 starts in the series. So not everyone gets to that 500 start mark. He started his NASCAR Cup Series career in 2006, 2007, running for Rookie of the Year. I don't think they made a few races with Team Red Bull in 06 when they were trying to do some of that part-time stuff, but some of the journey with Red Bull to working with Richard Petty Motorsports, Team Penske, Phoenix Racing, JTG Doherty Racing, where he won his first NASCAR Cup Series race in 2014 at Watkins Glen. Broke through, made the chase that year, almost top 10 in points, I think 11th that year. Ended up doing the colleague deal, working with the NASCAR Xfinity Series program there. And Tyler, if I remember at one point too, there was even thought that he was just going to be kind of scaled back to a part-time deal. That win at Atlanta kind of rejuvenated him in 2020, 2021. So we've seen AJ Allmendinger have the longevity to his career, much like Denny Hamlin. Maybe not the results of Denny Hamlin, but has been around in Cup a majority of the time that Hamlin has been there. And perhaps we'll see him for a lot longer, but how fitting his 500th start coming on a road course. And I don't know this stat off the top of my head, Tyler, but there's only been a handful that have won in their 500th start. I believe that includes Matt Kenseth, possibly Richard Petty, some good names if you can win and start 500.
Yeah. You look at AJ's career, Matt, it has been a bit of a roller coaster, right? Dominic mentioned the Red Bull days. He gets the opportunity with Penske and he fails the drug tests, loses that ride. And then he was kind of out of the sport for a bit, did some IndyCar, and the door kind of opened with Colleague after he had, gone into retirement there for a bit. And really found his home with Matt Colleague and that organization. And it hasn't always been great with Colleague. They demoted him out of the Cup ride to an O'Reilly ride at one point. They put him back in the Cup ride. He delivered them their first Cup win at the Indy Road Course. We've seen the performance of that organization kind of go up and down. The faces have changed around him at all levels. This is an organization that went in with high hopes. They said they're trophy hunting when they came to Cup, and they haven't really won a lot, but AJ's been the one constant of that organization. And, with them looking to go to Dodge and Cup at some point and what they're doing in the Truck Series, I would argue, Matt, that AJ's more important to Colleague now than he's ever been before, that they need that constant veteran presence of a guy that's still capable of running up front here.
Oh, absolutely. I think that constant is super important. And AJ is obviously a guy, when you talk about his career, man, a roller coaster ride is absolutely the best way to describe it because he's been all over the place. He's done just about everything you can do as a race car driver, I think. So obviously he's won really big races and owned the Roval for forever in the Cup and O'Reilly, honestly, I would say. So I think AJ is one of those guys that he is just an asset all around. Obviously, he's a pretty fiery guy. He can get fired up pretty easily, but I think that can be a good thing off the track too, and really helps fire up his guys and keeps everybody in it. And he just cares a lot about what he does, and you can tell. He wears it on his sleeve, and I think he's one of those guys that when we talk about guys who elevate teams, I think he's one of those guys, and they see that, and that's why he's been around as long as he has, and whether he's jumped between the O'Reilly and the Cup Series, wherever he's at, he's doing a great job and obviously has a great relationship with the team at Colleague. So not surprised at all to see him extend with them.
Dom, one more thing on AJ real quick. He's sitting 20th in points. His teammate Ty Dillon's sitting there in 31st. They're not getting any help from Chevrolet at all due to the truck program going to the Ram and all of that. With all things considered, I feel like if you're Colleague, you got to be thrilled with what AJ is able to do. Even this past week, AJ was saying he got no sim time at all and still had a solid showing there this past weekend there at Coronado.
Not know that about the sim time, but you couldn't tell by the way he raced. And what was he, 6th place, 7th place? He was in the top 10 at the end of the day. Can you imagine if they had the Team Chevy support? We'd be talking a little bit better and highly about Allmendinger with that chase bubble spot. No doubt. No doubt. AJ Allmendinger is a very talented race car driver. Like Matt said, the roller coaster has just been a great way to define his career in 2 words, but he's made the most out of every opportunity. He's clearly doing the same. More often than not, Tyler, we're talking about Allmendinger contending for a chase position on points every season, more often than not in Cup. And even with no manufacturer support, that is still the case in 2026.
All right. Dom, are we looking ahead to this weekend now?
Let's look ahead to this weekend. The Toyota Safe Mart 350. You have the NASCAR O'Reilly Series racing on Saturday, the NASCAR or the ARCA West Series as well, and the Cup Series with the Toyota Safe Mart 275. this week, or 350 rather, in Sonoma Raceway in Northern California. Your odds-on favorite, if you'd guessed SVG is what odds makers are saying is the favorite, well, you'd be correct at minus 175 at the time of this taping per the Caesars Sportsbook. Connor Zilic sits at 7-1 or plus 700. Tyler Reddick 8.5-1. Ryan Blaney 12-1. Kyle Larson is 14-1. Chris Buescher, Michael McDowell, and Ty Gibbs each coming in at 20-1. AJ Allmendinger, Chase Briscoe each at 30-1. William Byron 35-1. Chase Elliott 35-1. Ross Chastain is 50-1. Carson Osbar, Daniel Suarez 60-1. I've never seen his name so low in Cup, guys. Christopher Bell alongside Zane Smith and Bubba Wallace at 65-1. Ryan Preece is 80-1. Austin Cindric, Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, who have all shown great road course speed over the years, 100-1. But some of your longest shots of the race include Josh Berry at 1,000-1, Noah Gragson 1,000-1, Ty Dillon 1,500-1, Cody Ware 2,500-1, and as always, these odds are for entertainment purposes and news value only. This is not financial or betting advice.
Looking at this weekend, I already said that it's a must-win for SVG. I expect him to win. I think we are all picking SVG again, right? Are we putting the curse on him a second week in a row?
Yeah.
We usually do, right?
Okay, so the curse is on
so.
SVG. We cursed you last week. We'll see what he does. Who finishes second then? Start with you, Matt.
Tell you what, I really thought I was going to be right for a little bit there. Chris Buescher was tracking down SVG early in the race, and I'm like, man, that's exactly who I said was going to beat him, and he almost did. And then he didn't, obviously. But I don't know, guys. What do you think about 4 first-time winners this year? We've already got 3, right? You think Zilic breaks through? I don't. I think SVG is going to win. But if somebody's going to finish second to him, it's going to be Connor Zilic. He's been coming on strong, and he's finally going to have his strong day, I think.
How about you, Dom?
Man, I'm going to pick the guy that finished second in this race last year because he's a very underrated road course racer, in my opinion. Chase Briscoe is going to go toe-to-toe with Shane Van Gisbergen. I don't know if he'll win, but he might lead some laps. When we look at that laps column led, the SVG is going to have, 74 laps led? Maybe Briscoe has 20 laps led. Briscoe and SVG will be the lead of the field. Do you agree with that, or someone else on your mind?
I'm going to go with the guy that has raced the best in the non-SVG wins. Give me Tyler Reddick to be that next guy. And he knows that Denny's on his heels. This is his best chance to extend the lead a little bit. I don't think it'll be enough to beat SVG, but Tyler Reddick would be the next guy. Also, the in-season challenge begins this week with the TNT races the next 5 weeks. I'm looking at the bracket right now. Dom, this was such a mess last year with Ty Gibbs winning the $1 million over Ty Dillon. The first race you had last year was Atlanta, and half the field wrecked in that and just kind of threw this whole thing for a curve. I don't think it's going to be as crazy as it was last year, but I do expect a lot of upsets and some shenanigans to go on. What do you think of the bracket here, Dom?
I think I'm looking at most at that first one, that it's a rematch of the Atlanta one from last year. I'm going to be very much closely following the Ty Dillon, Denny Hamlin battle. I think that's going to be a ton of fun. I'm sure the broadcast is going to bring up Atlanta, and they're going to bring up Ty Dillon making it to the finals last year and Hamlin being eliminated so early. So that's going to be a fun fall. I think Hamlin's going to best Ty Dillon on that. But is it Ryan Preece who's going up against SVG? Poor Ryan Preece. That bracket's not even getting started. It's finished before it gets started.
Yeah.
He knew it.
I'm going to go with to win the in-season challenge. I like how the bracket plays for him. Ryan Blaney in his spot. I think he beats Josh Berry. The next week it's Preece or Gragson, or Preece or Van Gisbergen rather. And then from there it plays out pretty favorably. I like Ryan Blaney's path to get it done. He might not even win any of the 5, but I'll go with Blaney to get it done. Who's going to win the in-season challenge, Matt?
I feel pretty confidently, guys. I told you C. Bell is going to go on a tear. As long as he can make it through the Sonoma race, And it'll be interesting, even if he doesn't, if they still, like if Brent Cruz, if he gets points for Bell and Cruz runs half the race and finishes
Ross
it off.
Chastain is his first challenger.
I mean, my point is if they switch drivers halfway through the race, does Bell get credited in the
Yes.
in-season challenge?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, regardless, then I'm picking Bell to go all the way.
Okay. Dom,
He's
do
gonna
you have
make
a
it
pick
happen.
for us of who wins the in-season challenge?
Sure. Looking at the picks too, and yeah, I'm not too familiar with the bracket and who's going up against who, so I offer this with no proof on who the next challenge would be or who even the challenge would be this week. But somebody that needs some good runs and he's a consistent top 5, top 10 driver this year. Give me William Byron to be your in-season bracket challenge winner. And real quick, Tyler, since we're on that, some of the odds for that, the odds makers right now are saying Denny Hamlin at 5.5 to 1 are going to be he's going to be the in-season bracket challenge winner according to Caesar Sportsbook. Tyler Reddick 7 to 1. Larson and Blaney are 8 to 1. Christopher Bell's 10 to 1 right now. I have Byron at 14 to 1.
So Byron takes on Stenhouse this week, and then the following week it would be either Larson or Riley Herbst from there. So we'll see. Should be interesting. I do think the in-season challenge is a waste of time this point in the year as we're this close to the chase and battling for chase spots. But that's just my opinion. I think we should do this earlier in the year, but it is what it is. Guys, before we go, what's everybody got going on this weekend? Matt, you had a pretty good run on the racetrack this week. What are you doing this upcoming week now?
No, we're pretty much celebrating the old top 10 we had last week and kind of looking ahead and trying to prepare for Flat Rock. That's kind of we're full speed ahead and focus is fully on that event now. So pretty excited we could have a good run last weekend, but we're focused and working towards that next one.
How about you, Dom?
Yeah, it should be a relaxing weekend at home. Probably some more band practice and prepare for the next gig. We have our next gig July 10th at Route 66 Casino. So that's going to be a ton of fun. And again, get to play Rockstar from time to time. So I look forward to getting behind the drum kit and that next opportunity. How about you?
I am enjoying my one weekend at home for the next 6 weeks. And then I'll be at Chicago the week following for the Chicagoland race. So nice to have a little home game, a little break from the travel, surviving San Diego and Mexico. If you know, you know. I'll talk about that offline. I'll have more on that on the Jones Report this week. That's a tease. Check out the Jones Report.
Guys, you're going to want to hear that story. It is great. And I don't know if you have Jonathan as your guest, but man, hearing you both talk about what you guys experienced during the race weekend and after, it is worth a listen.
Highly recommend.
Okay, so there you go. If you needed a tease, we haven't even recorded the Jones Report yet, but it will be my opening monologue on that show when it comes out on Thursday or Friday. So stay tuned for that. That does it for this edition of the Racing Roundtable. We'll put the checkered flag out on this episode. Subscribe to the Racing Roundtable. New episode a week. Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review or don't leave us one at all. Hit us up on social media. Also by email. Check out the Studio Soapbox Network. This show, the Jones Report, available on all podcast platforms. For more NASCAR coverage, go to NASCARRoundtable.com as well as theracingexperts.com. And we appreciate y'all joining us. For Matt Kemp, Dominic Aragon, I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks so long. This has been another edition of the Racing Roundtable. We'll see you next week.